Snow still clung to the highest ridges of the Carpathian Mountains as the Roman legions pushed deeper into Dacia. The forests grew thicker, the cliffs sharper, and the roads narrower until they were no more than winding scars carved into the mountainous skin. Every step forward brought the legions closer to the heart of Decebalus's kingdom, and closer to death. The victory at Tape had shaken the Dacians, but it had not broken them. If anything, it convinced King Decebalus that Trajan intended nothing less than the total destruction of his kingdom, and so he retreated into the mountains toward the stone fortresses that had protected Dacia for generations. These fortresses were not crude wooden walls. They were masterpieces of stone engineering, fused into the landscape itself. Defensive terraces climbed the hillsides, walls curved with the slopes. Tunnels ran beneath the earth. Secret reservoirs held months of water. And at the center of this ring of defenses stood the greatest fortress of all, Sarmisagetusareia, the capital of the Dacian kingdom. But Trajan was determined. He would not allow Dacia to survive behind stone walls. The march toward the strongholds began with resistance at every turn. Dacian raiding parties struck from hidden caves, unleashing volleys of arrows before disappearing into the trees. Roman supply lines were harassed day and night, forcing commanders to assign entire cohorts to protection duty. The mountains felt alive, breathing, watching, waiting. Trajan responded with cold precision. Fields were cleared. Roads were widened. Stone ramps were built. Watchtowers rose on every hilltop. Rome carved order into chaos. As the legions climbed higher, the first fortress came into view, perched atop a ridge like a predator guarding its lair. The Dacians waited behind its walls, their falx blades gleaming above the battlements. Smoke from signal fires climbed into the sky, warning other fortresses that Rome had arrived. Trajan did not hesitate. He ordered a full siege. Siege engineers assembled ballistae and onagers, their great arms creaking as stones and bolts were loaded. Shields locked together into testudo formations. Archers formed lines. Trumpets sounded. The assault began. Stones crashed into the wooden towers. Dacian javelins rained down. Warriors screamed from the parapets, hurling pitch, rocks, and flaming torches into the packed formations below. The Romans advanced step by step, their shields rattling under the blows. Every fallen soldier was replaced by another. The legionaries were relentless. The battle stretched into night. The fortress shuddered under the impacts. And then, with a groan like the mountain itself breaking open, the outer wall collapsed. Roman troops surged through the breach. The fighting turned brutal and intimate. Dacian warriors swung their curved blades with devastating power, splitting shields and armor. But the Roman gladius was made for close quarters. Step, thrust, shield bash. Thrust again. When dawn broke, the fortress had fallen. But Decebalus had planned for this. He sacrificed strongholds to buy time. As Rome took one fortress, the Dacians fortified the next. As Rome built ramps, the Dacians dug. As Rome advanced, the Dacians scorched their own fields, forcing Trajan to feed his army through sheer resourcefulness. The campaign dragged on for months. Trajan's patience never wavered. He moved fortress by fortress, tearing open the defensive belt that shielded the Dacian capital. With each victory, Rome tightened its grip. The legions adapted to mountain warfare. Auxiliary troops from the Balkans and Syria became critical in navigating the rugged terrain. At last, the path to Sarmisagetus opened. The capital appeared like a stone crown atop the mountains, a sacred place of temples, terraces, and citadels. It was more than a fortress. It was the heart and soul of the Dacian people. Decebalus watched its approach with both fury and dread. He knew the walls could hold, but only for so long. He knew his warriors were brave, but their numbers were dwindling. He knew Trajan was coming not for tribute, not for negotiation, but for conquest. The Romans encircled the capital. Siege towers rolled forward. Engineers began dismantling the sacred terraces that protected the fortress. Flames rose as the Dacians launched desperate counterattacks. trying to break through the Roman lines, but the noose tightened. Inside the fortress, Dacian priests prayed to the gods of the mountains. Warriors sharpened their weapons in silence. Women and children prepared to flee through secret escape passages. The air was thick with desperation. Trajan's forces cut the Citius water pipes, an engineering strike that stunned even Rome's enemies. Without water, the capital could not survive. The siege was entering its final stage. Decebalus realized what was coming. He could fight, but defeat was inevitable. And so, the king made a choice that would define the end of the First Dacian War. Before Rome stormed the city, Decebalus slipped into the mountains with his remaining forces, abandoning the capital to its fate. Trajan entered Sarmizegetus, victorious but unsatisfied. The king had escaped. Rome had won the siege, but not the war. Far from the burning capital, Decebalus was already gathering survivors, rebuilding his strength, and preparing for revenge. And Trajan knew the truth. A king like Decebalus would never kneel. A warrior like him would never surrender. The First Dacian War was not the end. It was only the beginning of something far more brutal. End of Part 10. Next. Part 11. Decebalus strikes back. The rebellion begins.